Hey everyone, here is how I insert flutter sleeves on a dress with a bodice front. Now it will work the same for a dress or a shirt with a yoke front too. So to begin the construction, I did my hand embroidery design first, and just a side note, this motif is available on my Etsy store for an instant download. And then I cut my bodice front using the Children's Corner Louise pattern, but any bodice pattern will work, and again a yoke pattern will work too. Then I put the bodice together using that bodice ring method that I like so much. Basically, you'll have your bodice front across from the bodice front lining and then the bodice back pieces across from each other, and join everything at the shoulder seams. Then when you bring the bodice front lining to the bodice front, that'll fold the bodice back pieces in half, and you'll see how your bodice will just kind of come together. And if you are working with a garment that has a yoke instead of a bodice piece, you will want to attach the skirt pieces or the bottom of the yoke, the bottom of the shirt, maybe there's a midriff, whatever design you're working on, but basically you want the armhole in its entirety before continuing. From there, I roughly measured the armhole length. Now you just want some measurement that is in the ballpark. You do not need anything super exact here. My armhole is about 12 inches long, so a flutter sleeve that is 1X wouldn't have any gathers, and so then a 1.5 would be very gradual gathers, and then a 2X would be kind of your normal amount of gathers, and so on. How long to make your sleeve is going to be entirely your preference. I went with the 1.5 times route. So I grabbed some tissue paper. This is the same paper that I use to trace my patterns, and it's just medical examining paper that I buy off of Amazon. So the bottom of the sleeve is going to be 9 inches in my case, since 12 inches times 1.5, that factor 1.5 gives me 18 inches, and I only need to draft half of the sleeve, so half of 18 inches is 9 inches, and that gives me the bottom of my sleeve. Now I'm taking this French curve and positioning it so it makes a gradual slope up. If you don't have a French curve, they are very handy, so you may consider buying one, but you don't need to have one for this sleeve. Just mimic a gradual curve of this type. Don't worry if your line is not perfectly fluid, because your scissors are not going to cut jagged, you know? So I'm going over my pencil lines with this darker pen so it shows up better for y'all, and my sleeve is 1.5 inches wide on the small end and about 2.5 inches wide on the middle of the sleeve. Remember, this is half of my sleeve, so I'm going to be cutting it out on the fold where those lovely scribbled arrows are. And as far as cutting, I'm cutting out 4 of these sleeves, but if you want to put lace at the edge of your flutter sleeve, then you only need to cut out 2 sleeves, since you're going to be doing a zigzag to attach the lace, and that'll take care of the raw edge of the sleeve. I hope that makes sense. So I'm sewing my sleeve together along the curved edge with right sides together. And another note, you can sandwich some piping or another trim piece, whatever you want to do within the seam if you wanted that embellishment. And then I'm understitching that seam and then taking my sleeve to my iron for a good press in. Next, I put 2 rows of gather stitches along the other edge of the sleeve. 1 row of stitches on either side where those permanent stitches are going to go later on. And finally, I gather up that sleeve, and then you could do even gathers along the entire sleeve, but I'm slightly going to concentrate the gathers around the top of the sleeve, like around the top shoulder area. But you don't have to if it doesn't make you happy. Now, when you get to the ends of the sleeve, just angle those off slightly. Don't overthink it. It's not rocket science. Just angle them off a bit. That way, you know, you have all of your raw edges going into that seam. I hope that makes sense. And you can trim up those ends so they mimic the curve of the armhole if that's helpful. Sometimes it's helpful to see, you know, to get your seam allowance even. So then I just sewed the sleeve to my armhole, and I'm only sewing it to the front of the dress bodice. I am not going to be including this lining into this seam. Once I'm done sewing the sleeves, then I fold the lining over on top of the bodice sleeve combination, and you do want to be careful that the sleeve edges are not going to be caught in any of the upcoming stitches, so pinning them out of the way may be helpful. And I pin the necklines together as well as the armholes. I'm going to sew along the armholes as well as around that neckline, and then I trim up the seam allowances and clip the curves like normal. To turn the bodice right sides out, I reach through the front of the bodice and grab the back of the bodice, and using the flutter sleeve can, you know, kind of pull on that sleeve a little bit, can help turn the bodice right sides out. I like to use this pointer tool to push the corners, and then I give everything a really good ironing. And from there you can proceed with your project. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. And as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and I hope to catch y'all next time.